So this is the one I did last Friday where I had the mess, and from the telephone pole to the driveway was that huge onion patch. See, now there's some onion stuff there. 90% of it is grass. There's still some onion patch stuff there. Some that's in there I'll cut out, but look, I don't know if you can tell, but 90% of it's grass. That's what I meant when I was talking about last week. But no walker today. Well, I have the walker. I have the MT today, but I have the Ferris. And I'm going to cut both of these big properties with that 61. Here's the deal. So it ended up not being that fuel pump, which is right there. The other one did have a crack in it, so I put a new one on it anyway because I had it. But I ended up taking it to, I've mentioned past videos, when I don't have time I take my stuff to this gentleman I know that has a small business repair shop. And so I took it to him Wednesday morning of this week. And first thing he did was unscrewed that electric solenoid out of there to make sure it worked. But as soon as he unscrewed it, he said, "You're not getting very much fuel out of there at all. That bowl should have been full of fuel." And it wasn't. Very little bit came out. So we pulled off all these lines and he blew through them. All the fuel lines all the way up, fuel filter, tank, blew through all of them to make sure there's nothing in the lines. The pickup sock on the bottom of the line where it goes in the tank, the bottom, that wasn't plugged. We thought maybe it was, and it wasn't. So anyway, after we blew out all lines, it started up and it ran great. Took it home and took it out to mow that day. In 30 seconds in, it took a crap. He had to come pick it up from where I was. So anyway, what it ended up being is he ended up pulling the whole carb right off it and checking out the needle valve inside was restricted by little chunks of like this whitish bluish colored plastic. No idea where it came from. And then there was sludge in the bottom of the bowl, thick sludge. He cleaned it all out, gave it back to me. I picked it up yesterday afternoon, and I just mowed the last house with it, and it ran great. So I'm going to keep mowing it today. Hopefully it's fixed, and I'll see what happens. But I'm praying for the best. I'm not going to record this property because it's 10 o'clock. I just got done weed whacking both of them, but I had two other properties to do this morning. One left over from Wednesday, one left over from Thursday. It rained all yesterday morning. I went to the gym and I didn't get to go out and start mowing until noon. So I hauled butt yesterday and I did really good actually, but I had some stragglers, so I had to go finish them up first off this morning. Now I'm starting my Friday list, which isn't that long. I made it a little shorter this year, so for all delays that could happen during the week, I got time to make it up on Friday. So it's been a hell of a week. I'm fried, I'm burnt, I'm as red as this damn mower. Been loading my arms up with aloe lotion because I'm burnt so bad. But anyway, I'll show you this one real quick when I'm done with it. But I am going to film some properties today. It's just not going to be these two.
Well, it got the Ferris a little dirty, but it caught great. It ran great, didn't spit and sputter one time, never hesitated. There was still a little bit of that onion grass, like I said. See, it's all stuck in the tires there. It craps like slime. I can't wait till it's over. That and dandelion season. I can't stand onion grass or dandelions. But look, it came out pretty decent. It really did well. This right here, this property, I only cut once. The property to the left, I double cut almost the entire thing. That one grows a little bit taller, and I left the mower set at the same height. So that one left a little bit of grass laying, not much. So I just went ahead and double cut it anyway. And I just really wanted to get this Ferris running just to see what it was going to do, to see how it was going to react. And everything seemed to be going good this far. There's the onion grass. You notice the stripes are much brighter where the onion grass was, but overall, you know, here's the whole other property. I obviously just showed you the one that's right there to the right. Now here's this one. Everything came out very well, but like I said, the Ferris was running phenomenal. It was about an hour of straight mowing by the time I got all of it done. So here I am on the next property, using that hat mount. I finally figured out if I get it at the right angle, it works pretty good for this, which is exactly what I wanted that hat for, was for this, not for actual mowing like how you guys saw. You can see the point on top of my head. See that? That's my GoPro Sessions in that mount. But I wanted it so that I could do some trimming and things like that once in a while and when I'm working on equipment. So here it is, and it seems to be working out pretty well. I am using the Steel KM 131 combi system that I have with the trimmer head. Now, I know some of you are gonna mention that there's no guard on this, and to be honest with you, I prefer running no guard on my trimmers. I understand it's a lot more dangerous. I understand you know, stuff is gonna fly up towards me more than if you have the guard, but you just got to be careful. Use a little common sense. Pay attention to what you're doing. When you get around stones, you know, back off that trigger. And, you know, stuff can still happen, but, you know, it can happen with anything. Precaution, a little common sense goes a long way. Anyway, enough about that. I do prefer to run no guard on it just because the trimmer's a lot lighter on the end, and when you're mowing all these properties and the size properties I do every day and you're by yourself, it makes a big difference to take some of that weight off the trimmer. Plus, I like the fact that I can allow a lot more string out to cover bigger areas at a time. There's a lot of ditches on my properties that have to be weed whacked down, and you can whip through them a lot faster if you have a lot more string out. Now my FS 90s that I have, when I take the guard off of those and I let that string out, it bogs down. They just don't have the power to handle that extra string hanging out of that head. This KM 131 handles it no problem. It's one of the other reasons why I wanted this thing, you know, besides for the paddle wheel, which was the main purpose I wanted the combi. But I definitely wanted it for this reason, because I knew that it would handle running with no guard. So, you know, all in all, I'm very happy with it. I've used this trimmer quite a few times, but this is the first time I've taken the head off it and tried it like this. I did get rid of that handle that I told you guys about that stuck straight out. I didn't get rid of it, I just took it off. I realized that if I unscrewed it and pulled the two nuts out of that handle part, I could flip the bolts upside down and screw the mount on just like all my other trimmers without that piece on it. I know this sounds confusing. Go back and, you know, look at one of the videos, I don't know, probably 3-4 videos ago, something like that, where I talk about it and I show you exactly what I meant. But anyway, so I still have that other handle. I didn't throw it away, I didn't cut it, I didn't dismantle it, anything like that, but I found out a way to take it off and still be able to use the regular handle on the steel, so I like it much better. But anyway, you're gonna see it's gonna I bring the sound back on for a minute so that you can listen to the sound of the engine on the Ferris. You can listen to what it's doing, because I start having the problems all over again. You know, the problems come right back, and you're gonna hear exactly what it's doing, and then I'll come back on and I'll tell you exactly what it ended up being, what the problem was, and as a result. But I get really mad really fast coming up here in a minute. But listen to this and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You'll hear it keep dying and cutting out. See what I mean? Every time first off, it was really hard to get started. There was me choking it and everything, and finally when it did start, as soon as I go to engage them blades, it would cut right out. It'd shut right off. And so then it took me a minute, and I got it started again, and I waited a minute. It was purring like a kitten. Then I went to engage the blades, and it shut off again. So I started it back up. I drove around to what the area you see on the right hand side of the screen right now, and I let it run for a minute, and then I engaged the blades, and it wanted to cut out, but it didn't. It kicked right in, started going. So I started mowing. I was making one pass around, and I got over to the area that I'm at now, and I start mowing. Everything seems fine. It's not hiccuping. It's not hesitating. It's just running smooth, and it's cutting, and everything seems to be great, and I'm not having any more issues. So first thing I was thinking was, damn it, you know, it happened again. Something happened again with this thing. So, but then now all of a sudden it's running good, and everything seems to be okay, but I'm nervous, and I'm like, something's going to happen. I know it. And then, of course, as luck would have it, here it comes. Alright, so I got it back to the trailer, and I'm just pissed. I've had it at this point. I'm so mad. I grabbed the walker, obviously, and I figure I'll knock this property out. On my way to the next property, I have to pass my buddy's shop that fixed it last time, the one I was talking about. Let's just back up a little bit here. So, if you've been following along, you know last Wednesday was the first day I ever caught with the Ferris. Ran great all day long, and then I got to the last property and started doing just what you saw there. So I didn't have time to mess with it. Monday of this week, I messed around a little bit, changed that fuel pump. That didn't fix the problem. I called my buddy, and he said, or I left him a message, told him what it was doing. He called me like 5:30 Tuesday morning and said, bring that thing by. I bet you the choke's just out of alignment. So, or the choke cable's out of adjustment. So I took it over to him, and he unscrewed that solenoid, like I said, and the fuel wasn't coming out. What I ended up doing was I left it there, or what was it? No, he blew the lines out, like I said. Okay, yeah, he blew the lines out, like I said, and then I took it home, didn't use all day Tuesday, got it Wednesday, started mowing one of my first properties in the morning, and that's when it took a crap. I called him up and said, just come and get this thing. I don't know what the deal is. Something screwed up with it again. So he ended up taking it with him. He came and picked it up from the house I was mowing at, and he took it with him, which meant I had to mow, if you guys remember, the big hill that I need my walk behind for, that I do on Wednesdays. I showed it in a few videos last year. I had to push mow that entire hill with the new Toro 30, which handled it perfectly fine, did very well on it, but I ended up having to push mow the whole thing, which was not fun at all. So I went and got the mower back from him yesterday, and he said he took the carburetor apart and the needle valve was restricted, not letting enough fuel into the carburetor, and that's what it was. There was these tiny little chunks of white plastic, like little thin pieces of like paper thin plastic that was all over inside the carburetor, and plugging it up, and then the gel stuff like I mentioned. So he had fixed it. Well, so I took it to him this morning after that lawn, and turns out we looked down in the tank and there was a bunch of that stuff in the tank. We have no idea what it is. We have no idea how it got there. And what's even more puzzling, we can't figure out how the hell it got past the fuel filter to get into the carburetor, not once but twice now. So I told him, I said, listen, tear the whole thing apart, drain that tank, flush the tank out, flush out those fuel lines, put a new fuel filter on it, put another fuel pump on it, and rip the carburetor apart, clean it again. I don't care if my bill's $500. Call me when it's done. I don't have time to deal with it. I said, money I have, patience and time I don't. Call me when this thing is done. It has now cost me too much time and too much money. Call me when it's done. Rip everything apart, start from scratch, get everything out of there. So he said, okay. He goes, I'm really sorry. I said, it's not your fault. You know, you took the carb apart and found the problem, and we thought it was fixed. How would you know? The stuff is really hard to see. You couldn't even barely see in the tank, but I knew what I was looking for, and I was able to see it when I looked down in there. But so anyway, I left the mower there with him, and I ran back to my house, which was about 9-10 miles in the opposite direction, which doesn't seem like much, but it was just a big pain to have to do it. And I ran home and I grabbed the Great Dane. There's a couple properties I was able to mow with the walker today, but I have a few bigger properties that don't have to be bagged, and I just, the walker's way too slow for them, way too small with the 48-inch deck. I need something that could fly and side discharge. So I was going to grab the other walker, the B, but I just haven't decided if I like that mower yet. It's very jumpy. It's very squirmish. The tires, I think, are too small for that machine, so they spin way too easy. It's going to take a lot more getting used to, but plus there were some properties out of the mow today that were a little bit wet, and I didn't feel like I knew if I was going to get something stuck, which I did get this one stuck, and I had to use the walker to pull it out, but it wasn't that bad. But anyway, I didn't want to go trashing up the B. So, the B is definitely a mower that you will see in future videos to come, but this old Great Dane, tried and true, trusty, rusty. It's not rusty, but she's just a beast, and it never lets me down, never fails. This thing always runs. It cuts beautiful. I double cut that last part you just saw. I'm double cutting this, and it's just because all those dandelions, it leaves like this thick paste, nasty crap. But she did the job, got it done today, and I was happy to still be able to knock them properties out. Finished a lot later than I wanted to today, but what are you gonna do? These things happen. You got to keep rolling with it. You got to move on, and that's just the way it goes. But we'll see what next week brings.